Today is September the 17th, but I got this Chinese newspaper on 9/11 because 9/11 is a very important day to us Americans. And it's one of the reasons I want to talk about solar hydrofuel and post-petroleum economics. A common argument against solar hydrogen and other alternatives to fossil fuels goes something like this. It takes X amount of energy to turn water into fuel, or biomass into alcohol, or other alternative energy fuel creation processes. Therefore, the process must be too inefficient to work and the resource cannot be exploited. This is a classic straw man argument. Misses the whole point of why we not only should, but must develop clean, market-competitive alternatives to fossil fuels. First of all, it takes X amount of energy and resources to turn any feedstock into fuel. It takes energy to drill deep into the earth. It takes energy to pump out, store, transport, refine, and market deliver oil and natural gas. The argument is made that the energy and resources used to turn oil into gasoline and other products is somehow better or more efficient or costs less than other feedstocks. So let's carefully examine this. To begin with, it is instructive to examine the history. In the 1800s, coal was the dominant fuel feedstock. Steam-powered machinery, including transportation, was everywhere. The automobile, in fact, had a steam version around this time called the Stanley Steamer. It was powered by wood or coal. Oil, on the other hand, was discovered in Pennsylvania and mass-produced by Rockefeller. It was not, I repeat, not used for fuel. Instead, the primary market for oil was lamp oil and lubrication and other items. Now, Rockefeller had a problem. He had massive overcapacity, a very tight market, and so he was forced to collaborate with Ford and Morgan. The three of them brought together mass marketing, mass production, and consumer finance to the table. Now, Rockefeller's oil could flow into a whole new market. Lubrication, because the engines needed lots of lubrication or frequent oil changes, and they used gasoline for fuel. Now Henry Ford's vehicles could roll off the assembly line, and Morgan's banking business had a whole new market sector to service. So the argument that fossil fuels are somehow inherently better really doesn't hold water. It all depends on getting the right people in the right place at the right time with the right vision to develop an entirely new market and or industry. It's also instructive to remember that for a long time, gas stations had pumps for both ethanol and gasoline before gasoline became predominant. Now, I'm sure coal mine owners had similar arguments against the use of oil as a fuel during the 1800s. It should be noted that massive economies of scale are required in order for fossil fuels to become economically viable. A case in point is George W. Bush's attempt to find a company maker when he was in the oil business. In other words, he never found a large enough reservoir of oil to make his company successful. And we have to examine another fundamental flaw in the fossil fuels are inherently superior argument. Fossil fuels are, by definition, non-renewable. In terms of capital investment, you are guaranteed, in the long run, you're guaranteed a diminishing ROI, or return on investment, per field or deposit that you invest in. Renewable resources, on the other hand, continually provide return. In other words, the sun and the wind are not going to run out or reach the end of their life cycle anytime soon. On the other hand, renewable resources are typically not very well concentrated in one spot like oil. In the case of wind and solar, some form of concentration and tracking must be employed in order to fully utilize the resource. The lack of cost-effective concentration and tracking designs in today's market is often used to dismiss these energy resources. Again, this is a straw man argument, and it says basically that nobody can design a cost-effective improvement over existing technology, which can easily be proven false. Novel financing and business models also need to be taken into consideration, such as tax credits, carbon offsets, zero-down savings-based monthly payments, credits, rebates, and so on and so forth. In conclusion, the economics of renewable resources is inherently different than that of fossil fuels. Exploitation of such resources requires imagination, business connections, shared perseverance, and ingenuity. Unfortunately, these qualities are not commonly found, especially at today's executive level. Just as Ford, Morgan, and Rockefeller developed completely new markets, some group of individuals will eventually hit the right combination and fully develop alternative energy, but only if they grasp the basic fundamentals, such as the need for cost-effective tracking and concentration technology, design for manufacture techniques, customer incentives, market research, as well as hidden value in clean technologies, such as, for example, a technology may produce drinking water, as in the case of fuel cells or my engine design. So, in light of all this, I'd also like to announce that I am going to give away the Dragonseye solar technology. This may seem like a crazy incentive. I've invested a considerable amount of personal time and resources into this, plus my father has invested a long time of background of research and development into this. Nevertheless, I feel that it's necessary to do it. For one thing, it's to benefit humankind, and for another thing, I need to use that to develop a possible fuel infrastructure to supplant the use of fossil fuels. And this is something that would be useful in the long run for my engine, which I am not giving away for free. So,